Chapter 7. Laney stared down at her son in her lap. She couldn't believe they were finally getting to go home. Though Matthew had tested well, he'd had a little trouble nursing the first few days, so they'd ended up staying a week in the hospital. Still, it was much shorter than the 5 to 6 weeks she had thought she might be staying just 10 days ago. The wheelchair stopped just outside the front doors, and she waited for Tyler to pull up with the car. She always wondered why they wheeled mothers out, but now she knew. It had taken all her strength to get up and walk after the surgery, and while each time had gotten a little better, she was still stiff and sore. It would be another few weeks before she walked normally again. The car pulled up, and Tyler hurried out and grabbed the carrier from her lap. Immediately, she felt as if a piece of her was missing, and she forced herself not to grab the carrier back. They had kept her from her son the first few hours as she was in recovery, but since then he'd been with her every minute of the day. Not having him in her arms felt foreign. When the baby's car seat was securely fastened in the back seat, Tyler came back for her. He held out an arm, and she grasped it as if it were a lifeline in the ocean. He was her strength right now, and she needed to lean on him to make it the few feet to the car. Even so, she still grimaced in pain as she climbed into the seat and buckled the belt loosely across her belly. "Is it bad?" he asked as he started the car. "It's not great," she admitted, "but it was totally worth it." Tyler drove 5 miles under the speed limit the entire ride home. His shoulders hunched over the steering wheel, and Laney fought to keep from laughing. This carefree man had been transformed in front of her eyes to an 80-year-old man afraid of every vehicle on the road. She supposed this went with parenting, the insane desire to protect your children at all costs, and the maddening fear that something would happen to them anyway, but it certainly wasn't something her friends with kids had warned her about. Labor? Yes. Recovery? Yes. But the overwhelming, almost suffocating fear that something would happen to take your child away? No. It struck her then how much God must love them. If she felt this much love for her son, and they were God's children, then he must love them as much, if not more. "What are you smiling about?" Tyler asked as he opened her door. "I was just thinking about how amazing God is. He gave up his only son to give us life. I've always known it, but I don't think I've ever truly understood it until right now. We are so blessed." Tyler placed his hands on her face and stared into her eyes. "We are indeed, and I'm so glad he brought us together." As if he was afraid of causing her pain, he barely placed his lips on hers and gave her a tender kiss. "Now, how about we take our son inside and show him his room?" Laney's eyes widened. "You got it finished?" "Took me all night, but I did indeed." "Then yes, I want to see it too." "Wait here." He left her leaning against the car while he rescued the car seat. Then he offered her his other arm, and together they made a very slow journey into the house and to the nursery. Laney's eyes teared up at the sight of the room. Tyler had painted the walls a soft blue and hung pictures of horses around the room. Wooden letters spelled out Matthew's name above a dark brown crib and changing table, and near the crib sat a plush leather rocker. "Why don't you try it out?" He helped her sit down and then unbuckled Matthew from the carrier and handed him to her. "There's a monitor above his crib so we can hear him, but also so you can call for me if you're in here with him and need help." "Tyler, this is amazing." Laney could not believe how blessed she felt at this moment. After years of running from herself and her insecurities, she finally felt loved and whole and complete. Well, not exactly complete. There was a hope in her heart that one day Matthew would have a little sister, but that dream could be fulfilled down the road. For now, she would bask in the glow of motherhood and the love of a wonderful marriage that all started with a cup of spilled coffee, an old friend, and a reality TV show called Who Wants to Marry a Cowboy? The end. This has been a reading of The Reality Bride's Baby, written by Lorana Hoops, narrated by Lorana Hoops. Copyright 2019.